FM.
Fan man down. Play to you on my late Tyler. Track code 1 call 061-862-1065. That is WhatsApp as well as Telegram. If you want to call, it's 0214481352, 0214480358. So, like what I said, I'm going to be joined by Zizo Bongekile Manona, who's in the studio today to talk about the intro to DSLR photograph program. Zizo, good afternoon and welcome to Big Chat Bush Radio.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you just close?
Yes.
Yeah, we go.
Afternoon to the viewers as well, listeners and the audience. It's lovely to be here.
How are you doing and how's your day going?
Well, I'm doing good. It's just busy as usual. But, there's nothing really to complain about. It's just about, tackling the work and tackling your responsibilities.
Lekker. Now, let's talk about the intro to DSLR photograph program. What is it?
Okay, so essentially the program began in the year 2020. So we did our first pilot, which was titled back then in Activation, which was about 5 days. And it took place at the Isibivana Center. And we had 5 young emerging women photographers and we upskilled them for a week. And then from the reception of that the program, we decided to obviously start planning a long-term program that would include more beneficiaries after, we were noted on some of the advancements around, the feedback. What else can we incorporate? So now this time around, we decided, firstly, let me first preface, this is a National Lotteries Commission funded program. So we were able to get support from them in terms of, funding for capital for the program. So the program in itself is essentially broken down into about 4 components. Component number 1 is the technical foundation, which is, the technical theory of, operating a camera basics and how to, capture using a DSLR camera, because a lot of people don't necessarily have sound knowledge and information when it comes to, the actual operations. So we actually managed, even when we spoke to people, we found out that this is an area that they need a lot of assistance with. Firstly, how to break down, because the camera is such a vast, tool. And even when we look at, the different intermediaries when it comes to a camera, it gets broken down into a more like entry level, component, and then there's advanced components. So there's always room for improvement and professional development. So this specific one, like I said, 4 different components. Component number 1 is the technical foundation, which is going to be done over a period of a month. And then there's, it focuses on, the exposure, compensation, the triangle, the ISO, the aperture, how to set up your camera, its operations, and just, basic fundamentals around DSLR, photography techniques. And then the second month is broken down into what we call artistic and business development. So essentially what that means is that, you get different niches and pockets of photography. So once you know how to use this camera, or you have a bit of understanding around its core components, light as well, and how light plays and affects, the quality of your images, how do you then sort of like, see yourself in terms of, your photographic identity? And so that's when we get into the different pockets and niches of photography. You say, street photography, you introduce everyone to, the various artistic elements of it and how to create and craft and a creative narrative and a story. And then the business development component is literally broken down into 4 sections to say, hey, what are the core components that we think a young emerging photographer would want to know? And so essentially how to market, yourself and your services and your work, and then how to set up, your own business, photography business. What are the legalities around that? And then also legalities around copyright. Most of the time we upload our images on certain platforms. We don't know what our rights are, and case in point as well, even when you're photographing, you engage with people on the street, call it street photography, but what are the certain, best practices that one has to think about before you even go about that? So, you give people that insight, and then we jump into, the third month, which is the portfolio and exhibit preparation month. So essentially, the portfolio exhibit and preparation month is looking into the written portfolio samples and the kit and what to look out for when preparing your kit. And because this portfolio kit is so essential to clients, it's also essential to, let's say, for example, institutions, should they want to now move on from the program into a bigger institution, into a bigger program, advanced program. So this is what they would essentially have in terms of the work that they can showcase, after we've captured and we've done the assignments, we've gone on excursions, we've networked with, industry experts and mentors. Then, with that said portfolio kit, you get an artist statement, you get taught how to compile your artist resume, CV, and your profile as well, biography, and everything that is encapsulated within those components. And then we host our, exhibit in the final month. And then that's essentially when you get the public to come and engage. You get your family. We try and amass sales, and we try to just drive more traffic and more eyes into the work, and essentially try and also network so that there's potential for people to, launch a career.
Interesting. Now you mentioned a lot. That's a lot. So for me, I want to know from the beginning. I mean, the very basics. Intro to DSLR photography. Looks like DSLR is it an abbreviation?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So it's digital single lens reflex. Okay. So that's the mirror. That's a mirror prism inside your camera, inside your DSLR camera. Remember, you've got various cameras. You've got the ones, the digital ones inside your smartphones. You've got the point and shoot, which doesn't. It's usually just. Auto. A lot of them are auto, but you can also get it in manual. And then you get the one that I'm telling you about, the one that you see with detachable lenses to it. So when you detach that, you see that when the camera comes in, there's a certain prism that opens and sort of bounces and shuts open. That gives, that impression of light coming in. And that's where the components, the various technical components come in, how to balance, that light coming in, because it's essentially how you craft everything and how the light is perceived and received by your prism.
We're getting technical now. So, you started the program in 2020.
2020, yes.
It's been running for 4 years now.
Yes. So essentially, what we mean by that is that the very first pilot, because we've had other programs after that, because we are a multidisciplinary organization that doesn't essentially just focus on one component. So a lot of it is through, corporate sponsorship and funding. So when we were able to start off with the pilot in 2020, we then moved on to graphic design and other programs and digital arts. And so by virtue of the NAC, this is a second running within that 4-year radius. Yes.
And for those who would like to enroll for that, what are did they need qualifications? Because you said at the beginning you took, I think, 4 women, is it?
It was 5.
5, yeah.
Yes.
Is it still the same, or now you...
So essentially, right now, we're looking at about 15 beneficiaries, a total of 15 beneficiaries altogether. And it is, youth, garnered towards youth between 18 and 35. And essentially, we're looking at people that can dedicate their time for 3 8-hour sessions a week, essentially for the first month. And then the second month, the same as well. But then we'll have off-site days, about 4 off-site days that we will spend just capturing and shooting, and then they need to be within at least foot transit, public transport transit to Isiviva and Ascent, and be able to dedicate their time. So it will be great if it can be someone that is committed and that wants to work within photography and wants to develop their time and not necessarily have too many other commitments that they have. Because, you're always going to find people that either have jobs or working remotely, but if you can dedicate that time, what you do afterwards is essentially your time. But what we will try and then do is that, because it's 3 weekly sessions, there's that blended learning component, because we know that not a lot of people have their own equipment. So a lot of what we try to do is essentially essentially work around those loopholes to say, hey, even though you don't have the said component, this DSLR with you, we will have, equipment on site in order for people to be able to sort of like learn and create an equilibrium. So 18 to 35 within foot, we look at it like Cape Flats. Think Cape Flats, Mitchell's Plain, think Khayelitsha, think Nyanga. Anyone that can be able to cooks, they can be able to make it between 8:30 and a 9 o'clock start time, and then 3 sessions, weekly sessions, 18 to 35. Doesn't matter the gender, doesn't matter the race.
And we do have Thomas, who is a very bad photographer. Maybe if you ask everyone around the office, they know that I cannot take photos. With even using a phone, I can don't trust me with the camera. We have someone like that, and they're interested. They want to learn. Do you also accept those people?
Perfect. Those are the perfect. Thank you for hitting on that point, because I've I spent a bit of time this week engaging with potential beneficiaries and people who want to participate in the program. And yes, it's people from varying degrees, varying skill sets, and some have been practicing, some are self-taught, others have never even touched a DSLR. And so the main component is that it's designed like a crash course to say that no matter your skill set or where you are or which level of photography, we just want people that are interested and want to cultivate a career within photography. Yes, you can have a background. Yes, it's aspiring and beginners, but again, there's always varying degrees when it comes to that as well, even to say emerging. So you just need to be committed. You need to be serious. You need to have a passion for this, because even the people that I've spoken to, there's always one thing that I try to sort of find out is how committed are you with regards to this career. Yes, you might change your mind at a later point, but right now, what do you sort of want to gain? Where do you see yourself? So yes, just committed, have a passion for it, and your time as well, because we essentially will also be able to invest our time into the program.
So I want to find out, why is it crucial for beginners to understand the functions and settings of a DSLR camera?
It's essentially, when you think about it, we're looking at people that want to take the skill set and, move towards cultivating, a career for themselves. So when you look at that, you look at it in a sense that you are now positioning yourself as a service provider. So you are going to be challenged throughout your photographic career, with different shooting environments. And so when you position yourself like that, you're already saying that I have to, the client that you talk to doesn't have to know what the core components are. You are essentially the one that has to deliver the service. So you need to break it down in that point of view, from a business point of view and from a technical point of view. It's always important to develop yourself professionally, whether or not you're a beginner, whether or not you've been in the industry, for a while. So essentially for them is to give them, because again, we've spoken to people that are transitioning from various other careers. It can be finance and whatnot, who want to get into photography. So they want to present themselves essentially to a client, and this is going to be a pivot for them to say, these are my services, this is how long I've been doing it, and I know, what it is that I'm talking about. Yes.
Interesting. Now, talking about photography, you mentioned that there are niches or types, or different types of photography. So recently, not recently, yesterday, as I was working at, I think in Adelaide in town, I saw guys with cameras and they were shooting, and one of them came to me and was like, "Sir," but I was like, "But I think you're inviting me. I don't want the photo. I think you're," but I ended up liking the picture and I had to pay. So to those who are doing that, what are the ethics? You were talking about copyrights. You're talking about the do's and don'ts, how to connect with people. Maybe do you have something to say about that?
No, so essentially, when we look at that, it's a consent. It's just basically consent. Speaking to the person, it's widely referred to in photography as a subject. Okay. But yes, it's a term, this evolving term. So speaking to the person that you want to photograph and actually getting their consent, that can be done in various forms. It can be done verbally, but we usually say have a form with you you that you can carry with you in order to sort of have paperwork and record keeping, just in case anything can happen. So with that kind of practice that they're running, I would hope that they consent, when they want to take your photo. Otherwise, practice would be, after you've noted that, this photo has been captured, it would be for them to remove the material. Because if you don't have then, the written consent, you have your rights that say, I request that I would like for this photo to be deleted and removed because I have not consented to it. So there's acts, the PAPI Act that kind of govern certain laws around the privacy of people and whatnot. So those are always like the essentials. But then there's another layer in terms of, the ethics that we're talking about, in terms of consent, in terms of what you can and cannot do when it comes to taking photos of people and where to put them and how to frame them. So discussions have always been around framing, because remember, this is picture making, right? So picture making means that the discussion is around how do you use this weapon that you have as a camera to sort of, create this picture and this narrative. There's narratives that are created. So that is where the ethics come in. People that have perhaps, more knowledge than myself in terms of that element of, ethics will be able to break it down to you and say, hey, these are some of the narratives that can go on to sort of create, stereotypes, and so forth. So we try to firstly just look at it from a small point of view to say, hey, just get consent. Just ask this person if you may have your paperwork in record keeping. And essentially that's just how it's broken.
Tell you what, I ended up loving the picture and I had to pay.
Yes.
Everything. So we're just going to cross over to the news desk for the news headlines. Then we'll come back to the conversation. Still tuning into Bush Radio 89.5 FM, the mother of community radio stations in Africa. 061 862 1065. That is WhatsApp as well as Telegram.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bush Radio 89.5 FM. 89.5
Bush Radio. Ladies and gentlemen,
Bush Radio 89.5 FM.
In the news headlines at 3:30, the Western Cape Education Department is not able to hold on to teaching posts. Police arrested 17-year-old suspect for rape and sexual assault in Polokwane, and Police Minister expressed his outrage at the two women murdered.
Many thanks, God, to Sihle for the news headlines. The full bulletin will be at 4 bells. Then after that, it's going to be everyday people. Talking about all things intro to DSLR, a photograph program. We do have Zizo in the studio. Before the news, you also mentioned that there are some industry mentors who...
Yes.
So I want to find out, how do they contribute to the participants' learning experience?
That's a great question. One of the greatest areas of focus that we tend to look at is essentially how to break down concepts, that would have taken someone, years of experience, and sort of breaking down into almost like a compact session, our session. So we essentially now invite industry mentors and experts to say, you as an expert in your field, what are the certain components that tied into our syllabus that you can, grasp and give your insight towards. And then we invite them, for sessions just to come in, and engage. So firstly, it's from a point of view of, information sharing, skills transfer as well, and then also being able to sort of create a network and expand everyone else's network that will be participating, and also have direct communication with the said mentor. So our job and our purpose is to make sure that we try and select mentors that are, suitable for the type of work, and also to be able to engage with them, in advance, to say, hey, this is the level that, the participants are at. This is the content and the framework of the content that we want you to focus on. And then this is the session that we need you, available. And then we open up the lines of communications between, the said, experts and mentors to communicate directly with the participants, the beneficiaries themselves. And so essentially what that means is that there's always room for opportunity. If you present yourself in a great light, there's always room for an opportunity to say that 3, 4, 5 months down the line, hey, do you remember that person that I engaged with on the day? Can you guys put us in contact with them? Or even from our side, to say that when opportunity arises, can you be able to connect directly with them in order for you to work? We've done it multiple times. Has always been a motto of ours as well, to say first point of contact is always past beneficiaries in terms of opportunity, the creation of opportunity. So yes, a lot of people sometimes struggle with just the upward trajectory and the upward movement. So that's where they come in. They present themselves, they present their work, and they present face, and they're able to engage directly. It's always great when you can meet your heroes, which I think is one of the greatest components, especially when you also get to introduce. I forgot to mention that this component that we're speaking to is called the South African content. So South African content is looking at local artists and local heroes. So for us, that's always like one of the biggest barriers to entry for people to sort of see themselves in these careers. So when we can bring in a mentor to sort of say, hey, do you know where I grew up? Do you know my background? Do you know where I come from? I come from rural Eastern Cape. I come from the Cape Flats. I come from this place. Guess what? I'm doing this on a daily basis. And then they're just given the truth. They're given the truth. They don't gloss it over. It's a tough industry, very competitive. But I guess people also need to hear the truth.
From the horse mouth.
Exactly. And it also gives us an opportunity to remove ourselves from the equation, to say that, you see, now you're getting to engage with people outside of this network.
Yes.
And then creating a bigger pool for yourself. Yes.
Interesting. And what are some of the common challenges faced by beginners in DSLR photograph, and how does the program then help overcome these? So
the first challenge is, I would definitely say, access to information. I would say even before you've purchased a camera or have the means to purchase the said equipment, it's always access to information. Where do I go? Which one is suitable for me? Which range? Where am I at in terms of, how do you gauge, where you're at in terms of your skill set? And then once that barrier is broken, it's then for us to say, hey, for the level that you're at, look at said technical, equipment components. Try and break it down for yourself in such a way that you don't become overwhelmed, because it is costly. The equipment is costly, and if you're going to go with that mindset that says, hey, I should be shooting with this type of equipment at this stage that you are at, then you are going to be overwhelmed. So we try and look at resources. For example, good example would be the editing suite. Very costly. There's a very costly option that has all the different components, but it is our job to say, hey, how about you look at your mobile? Do you know that this is offered on the phone? Do you know that, yes, it might not work to its fullest, capabilities in terms of the web browser or the app, but then this tool that you have will also allow you to have a said output. So it really is about grit and resourcefulness, because unfortunately, we try to get people out of that mindset to say that you're looking at the lack. Look at, what the possibilities are of that. And again, that is not an excuse to say that people should not aim for bigger and better things at a coming stage, but we're essentially catering for what one can afford now and what they have now, and to be able to see the opportunity with what they have. in terms of themselves.
Wow. Lovely. And can you share if there is some maybe success stories or testimonials from previous participants who have benefited from the program?
So, like I said, essentially the first one was a 5-day short course, introductory short course, and a lot of the participants have gone on to forge careers for themselves, and a lot of them we were able to work with them and sort of also have them work with mentors that were part of the program at the time. So when we did our fashion shoot, they were the first point of reference to say, hey, this is a paid job, firstly, and then secondly, you get to have co-rights in terms of this work. You can present it in your portfolio, of which that is always a core component, because when you're presenting to clients, they want to see a product. And so in order for you to have the product, and in order for you to be part of this niche that you're looking at, you have to present the product that they want. So it takes a lot of, a lot of muscle, financial muscle and physical muscle, in order for you to set up your own, creative photo shoot. So with that sort of exposure at that level, that professional exposure, it also helps with, their careers. So a lot of them have gone on to work independently for themselves and to also work with, our mentors, and also still forge careers. And that's always a great part when you keep on hopping back and you see that, oh, this person is still practicing photography. So that shows, firstly, their grit more than our input. Those are the type of people that you would like to sort of see, sort of gain more insight. So essentially what that means, that we were able to sort of bridge a gap between the information that they were lacking and what we could present at that time, in order for them to pivot upwards.
Lovely program. And are there any plans to expand or evolve the program in the future? If so, what changes or addition might we expect?
Oh man, there's always room for improvement. I think the feedback that we receive from this one as well will be able to essentially, help us with crafting the next ones. I think essentially what we would like to do is work with more beneficiaries, more people. If we can have more participants come into the program and be able to extend a lot more assistance for them, then that will be great. And then essentially, if there's a program where we can be able to sort of gift people with the said technical requirements, and also be able to place them within working environments. Not everybody wants to be self-employed. Not everyone wants to perhaps spend the time working as an entrepreneur. Some people would like to sort of move from the program into an apprenticeship role, and etc. So if we can just work with stakeholders in order for us to sort of bridge that gap, I think essentially that's what I'm looking at in terms of the upward trajectory, to say, can we now move them from this said place up until, and that's why I always say, under promise and over deliver. So essentially, we'd like to look at a long-term program. We'd like to look at a program that has more people that we can benefit. We'd like to look at more stakeholder engagements, in order for us to be able to, for the participants to move on from the program to something bigger and better, and then also explore maybe an online, version of this course, because essentially we even received, applications from people that were based in Soweto, and that was to say, hey, unfortunately, this is an in-person, program at the moment, but when you sort of hit on the technical theory and the foundation, and you look at business development, you look at a photographer that is out there, how can we package this into an online compact deal, and then sort of have people be able to perhaps purchase the course, and also have corporates that assist us in bridging that gap, in order for them to sort of be sponsored the course, because we also need to be able to develop the material as well, and that material comes with capital flow, and be able to develop the curriculum. So our thing is, our motto is always, how can we democratize the information and the service and the product, and essentially get more people to participate and to sort of see themselves.
Wow, Leslie, if someone wants to, interested individuals rather,
yes, how
do they sign up?
We have a form. So visit www.inkubego.co.za. Then search for the apply tab, and then once you land on that landing page, you'll be able to input your details, and it will garner your application. And then another means is just to email me directly if you have any issues at zizo.manona@inkubego.co.za, or WhatsApp us at 079-531-2067. So those are all channels that can afford you some sort of communication directly with myself, because some people have had issues with applying and others have not. So I always tell them that first point of reference is my email. I will respond to you. Then if you can't, yes, if there's still like a technical malfunction, then at least you'll be able to speak to me directly, and then I'll give you directives, and I'll tell you that the breakdown of those questions and that information, just send it to me via email. Again, that's another platform where we can still get the same information, but just a different input with a different output.
Can you slowly repeat the WhatsApp number again?
It's 079-531-2067, and then email is zizo.manon@inkubego.co.za. So Inkubego is spelled INKCUBEKO. But otherwise, if you struggle with those, and then you can also find us at info@inkubego.co.za. Unless Instagram, Facebook, message us, DM us. Come on. Come on.
So 18 to 35, here's a program for you. If you like me, if you are like me, like what I said before, people cannot trust me with the camera. I'm not one of those people. You cannot trust me with a camera, even with a phone. Taking pictures, you end up like.
One of the easiest things is always to think about. One of my former lecturers used to tell us is a 3-second rule. Focus. Make sure that at least it's not blur. I hope you at least have that basic, that the pictures have to be focused. Yes, you have to be able to see what is presented in terms of the